Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And once again, we have located to our favorite local gaming store here, at Nerdhaven Games here in Abbotsford. And they've let us have the nice area here to set up, and if we ever get in trouble, we can escape to the Mines of Moria. But here is the 1942 setup. And it's going to be Colton is going to play the Axis powers today, and I will be playing the Allies. And Colton is hoping for better dice than the last time. And if you saw that video, yeah, you're feeling pretty sorry for him on that one. So we're going to see what happens here today. We'll be back with a recap after the German turn. Well, we're back, and it was not a good round for the Allies. Not horrific, but not a great round. Japan kind of had her way over here in China and was able to take a couple of territories there with a loss of only 1 infantry. The British fleet, which was a carrier and a destroyer, I believe, and a transport. Was it a cruiser? So a carrier and a cruiser. A carrier had a plane on it and everything, and got no hits. So there's that. Germany, was that?
The carrier got killed.
Oh yes, and the Japanese carrier actually got a hit. So the first roll of the game for the Axis was a hit, and they haven't stopped since. But Africa, the Germans did attack, and they brought the transport over and the man and artillery from Algeria, brought them over here to Egypt, but were unsuccessful. They did kill a couple of infantry, but then they retreated as the Brits got 3 hits on the first round, so that chased them out of there. The Eastern Front, Russia poured 7 men, an artillery, a fighter, and a bomber to take eastern Ukraine here and failed. In fact, the man there, he just moved in. There was a tank that was actually left from that battle, and the Russians had to retreat. So pretty nasty start there. We'll hopefully be able to recoup from that. Over here, the Germans have just moved their fleet here into the channel. The cruiser and transport, of course, got sunk by the 2 subs, which is a foregone conclusion in this 1942 setup. All right, we'll be back at the end of the round to show you what the Brits, the Italians, and the Americans do. All right, a very exciting round here, and the Allies are doing their best here to staunch the flow of Axis movement around the board. We'll start where we finished the round here, was the Pacific, where the Americans moved out to enforce, take Wake Island. They get a $5 bonus for that, and so why not? And then you're probably wondering, why am I building things out here? Well, the reason I'm building things out there is because my destroyer, fighter, and bomber that came after these 2 subs failed. He got a 1 on the first round, which sank my destroyer, and since subs and planes can't interact without a destroyer present, well, there you go. So they all had to move down here, and then my build went on the west coast because those subs are obviously in range of the sea zone where those builds would have gone. I did bomb Germany for 3, which is nice. And you see the Italian tank in northwestern Europe. That's because the British took it, and then the Italians came up to rescue the Wehrmacht as its resources are being stretched thin here in Western Europe. And yeah, you can see the Americans piled their air force there after their failed attempt at bombing. But in Africa, Britain remains hanging on by the proverbial fingernails here. They have refused the line here in Egypt. We'll see how long that lasts. And the transport moved up 1, but if it had moved up 2, then the German bomber could have killed it. So we just moved up 1 and moved these guys up on their own. The British built a factory in India and flew the plane from Australia over to there. And China did a gamble. Oh, we got to put our Chinese troops on. Forgot to do that. Going to get 2 guys. But we tried the guy in Hubei and the plane from Yunnan to attack in Kiangsu, where there's just a fighter and a bomber. So we thought, hey, why not? Let's give it a whirl. And I think we had, what, 6 rounds of combat? And nobody got any hits. Really, really disastrous. His fighter should have gotten a hit, sooner than that. But yeah, my fighter didn't hit either. It was just miss constantly. So, well, what can I tell you? That's warfare. So, this is how the board looks after one complete round. And we will come back and let you know what things look like after the German turn. Of course, it goes Japan, Soviet Union, and Germany. So after Germany's turn, we'll come back with their update. See you in a bit. Okay, well, we're a little bit ahead here because we actually did Britain's turn. We got all excited about what was going on. And this game is just violent. Very violent. So Japan, on their round, they came out here and hammered the American Navy and sank the entire thing. But they didn't do it without their own losses. They lost a carrier, and a plane, and a cruiser, a couple of destroyers, a sub, right? So it was almost a fair trade, but Japan came out on top there. But America still holds Wake, which is nice. The Russians brought 7 men into Manchuria to take on 2, and they lost 4. And we were going to pull back, but I said, nope, do it. And we actually ended up winning that, so that was kind of cool. But Japan continues to march across China. So the Russians just dropped a single guy in there just to, I don't know, maybe help out a little bit. But China's definitely hurting for certain here. They're going to be putting on just 1 troop this next turn, so they'll have to back away from the Japanese stuff to hang on. The Brits got out of Burma, retreated back to India, and starting to build up a nice little force here. Don't know if it'll be enough to stem the Japanese tide. They've got 3 transports in that mess, so they can cause some real grief there. Cairo finally fell to the Germans in a nice coordinated effort, and the fighter and the tank didn't get a hit, which kind of stunk. But hey, there's other news. The Brits are retreating back here and retreated the transport back. The German U-boats came down sitting off the coast of 12 here, and the destroyers were able to come and take them. And the Brits also went up and took Norway, but lost a man and a plane to do it. But Germany now has some concern there. We'll see how that develops as things go on. The Germans were able to take Karelia. I guess the big story there was that the anti-aircraft gun had 2 shots and got 2 hits. So that was pretty good. That annoyed the Wehrmacht quite a bit, or the Luftwaffe, I guess, in that case. But yeah, the Germans are loaded up for bear now, just on the doors of Moscow here, so we'll see how that goes on next round. But that's where we sit right now, pretty empty here in the middle area. It's all Axis. This whole area is all Axis. No incursions by anybody yet, but the Americans have yet to do their turn. And now with 2 destroyers to help them out and their own destroyer, they'll probably head over to Morocco, Algeria here, but maybe not. We'll see. We'll see what they do in the rest of this turn. And this turn is turn 3, I guess we're on. I guess we're on turn 3. I think 2? 2? I don't know. 2. This is turn 2. Oh my goodness. Boy, we're slow. All right. Well, there you go, folks. I hope you're enjoying, and we'll get back with the end of turn 2. All right, here we are at the end of round 3, and 2, pardon me, end of round 2, start of round 3. It's just that we've had so much action here in Africa, I thought that it must have been round 3 by now, but no, it is not. Yeah, so round 2, to give you a quick overview here. We just saw Japan a moment ago, and America built a battle wagon and 3 subs to protect the transports. We flew a bomber over and sank the transport that was in 62, and we landed the bomber there, so it's probably toast, but it's a good trade. Keeps those units in Japan 1 more turn. The Chinese added 1 guy and then snuck back up here and to join the Russian. Hopefully they can hold on for a couple more turns, draw some Japanese money away from Britain. And as we know, Britain is there and all settled. Not much has changed here. Italy did take Transjordan, so now they can go through the Suez Canal. And America came and took Morocco, Algeria from the Germans. So that was kind of fun. And put a small build on this side. All of our tech rolls have failed so far, though. We haven't had much joy there. Just had 2 bombers bomb Germany for a whopping 5. That's pretty much it. Not a lot going on here. Italy built these guys here. Got some transports. Probably going to go try to take back Morocco, Algeria. But time shall tell. So we'll catch up here at the end of Germany's turn on round 3. All right. Well, here we are at the end of Germany's turn here on round 3. So we'll look at Japan. And Japan is doing what Japan does. And took back Manchuria with extreme prejudice. And also took East Indies. So that really cuts into Britain's money. But they had to pull a lot of guys up here from French Indochina to, like the transports, to do that. So, Calcutta here is going to be pretty safe for a couple of turns anyway. We'll see how that goes. Over here, the Germans decided to build a factory in Cairo. So, we'll see if that's a good move or not. See if Britain responds by building one in South Africa on her turn. But we shall see. The German Luftwaffe and the destroyer came over here and took care of the 3 destroyers and 2 transports. So that was expensive. Germans lost the destroyers, so it wasn't painless, but not nearly as painful as it was for the Allies. The Germans took Archangel, but it was a big tussle, and the 9 Russian infantry made Germany pay. I think you lost about the same.
Yeah.
About 9 units, so it's pretty good. And then they took back eastern Ukraine here, as you can see. But beyond that, it's a fairly static front here right now. But I think some interesting things could happen on Britain's turn. But we'll see if she's got the horses. We've got some ideas, but we'll see what happens on the rest of turn 3. And the hits just keep on coming. All right, so the end of this turn saw the British head up here to Karelia and take it back and kill a couple tanks and a couple fighters at the same time. They took Finland, of course, coming through. So there's some bonus money going on there, which is nice. But the Italians took Morocco with ease. And so the Americans, again, had some trouble with their stuff there. So we built a battle wagon and a couple of tanks, a couple subs there, just to maybe let the Italians know we see them. Not much else changed in here because these guys haven't really done anything. The British tried another roll and failed, but they put some builds on there that can head back to Russia or head across the channel. The Italians thought about going into Persia, but then pulled back because the Brits could hit them with a plane and 6 tanks if they choose to. Probably wondering what this American bomber is doing here. Well, it came up here from Stanovoj Shrebet. Not saying that right. Came down here, bombed maximum damage, which is 4, because Kiangsu's only worth 2, and then carried on, landed there. And the Americans decided to come down here and take the Solomon Islands, which will give them a 5 bonus, which they just collected. So they're making 10 bonus now. And the Japanese Imperial Fleet now is going to have to keep an eye on this diminutive and yet not altogether unworrisome fleet for the Japanese. But we'll see what happens on turn 4. Wow, we're flying now. All right, here we are halfway through turn 4, and boy, things are flying now. Japan, big move up north here, bringing lots of stuff and cranking out 2 tanks a turn here on the ground. The Russian answer, though, was to send a couple of tanks from the Chinese territory there and zip around here, so China will be able to put on 2. So it's kind of like it was a play, because that was all Japanese territory, Xinjiang and whatnot. So it was kind of a nice play. Oh, we got some music being played here, serenading us. The Japanese brought up from the East Indies, brought a guy up to French Indochina, I guess, so the tanks can't blitz through and cause sorts of grief there. The Germans decided to expand out in Africa a little bit now. We'll see what goes on there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Germany bombed England for 2, which England just paid. We do need your help, though, folks. On the cards for Britain, it says if the Allies control any territory that was originally under Japanese control, you get $5, one of the national objectives. So we noticed that right in the first turn, we took Wake Island because Japan originally had it. So would that bonus then go to Britain for owning original Japanese territory, the Allies? Or is it what's printed on the map? So if it's printed on the map, then there you go. But Japan did actually have Wake Island to start. So hey, if somebody knows the answer to that or could point us to the FAQ someplace, that would be great. All right, so we are now on to Britain's turn, and although they're losing Africa a little bit by bit, they do have some interest up here. We'll see what happens on the rest of turn 4. Okay, some pretty exciting things here at the end of round 4. We're going to start in the Pacific, where America's fleet split up a little bit, but is still safely out of range of the Imperial Japanese Navy, and got $8 back. So it's a 16-point swing between Britain and Japan there, which is hopefully going to help Britain out here, because it's not been able to do too much recently. We did take this Japanese territory, French Indochina, so that did get them their $5 bonus for owning previous Japanese territory, because of course that is Japanese territory. American bomber took out the Japanese transport in 36, and of course it killed a couple guys there. China, thanks to the Russian tanks, was able to put on 2 guys this turn, which is really helpful to them. Might be too little too late for them. They're probably all going to die this round, but hopefully they'll take some Japanese armor with them. Italy, in a bold move, brought a bunch of guys from Rome and dropped them in Stalingrad and took Stalingrad. There's one for the history books. And so it'll be a short-lived offensive to be sure, but it is going to make the Russians turn around, which is, it's never fun. Germany's been building men, but they're also starting to get a little bombed, as it were. So they're going to have to watch that. The Americans took Morocco, Algeria, and have a decent navy. And since Italy's navy is over here now, they're free to shuttle back and forth for a couple of turns. The British took their man and artillery from South Africa up here and killed the German tank, but lost their infantry at the same time. And due to the threat of the Imperial Japanese Navy here, even though they only have 2 guys to invade, America decided, well, we'll just put up enough to hold on to it, even with the bombards. So they should be safe for a while. Something I forgot to point out a couple turns ago is that both Japan and Germany have breakthroughs. So Japan has super subs and the Germans have war bonds. And although they spent $15 to get them, they've gotten 9 back already in 2 rolls. So they should be flush within a couple of rolls, and then everything's gravy for them after that. So I guess, what's that guy's name? Hess? Was he put in charge of everything at the end of the war? Rudolf Hess? Yeah. So, yeah, they're doing better that way. Americans flew a fighter up to Karelia just for an option there. That's pretty much it. So we'll come back with the middle of turn 5. Okay, halfway through turn 5, and a real slugfest going on here. Germany was able to take back northwestern Europe with some real force. So that's safely in their hands now. Africa, though, didn't quite go as well as they had hoped. The Africa Corps, used to the dry, dusty land, ended up back down here, and I think they all ended up getting dysentery or something, because the little artillery that could defeated 2 armored divisions. Unfortunately, the British lost South Africa, so that kind of sucks. But hey, we still got an artillery, so we still have something left there. Here, the Germans were able to take back 1 territory and make a couple of bucks there, and helps them with the bonus. And the Japanese, with some force, French Indochina was taken back, and they also had a huge victory here in Shanghai. They didn't lose. I think they lost 2 guys, but they wiped out 9 Chinese troops or 7 Chinese troops and a plane for the loss of 2 guys. So that went really well for them. So the Russians had to put up a blocker because Russia had to come down here and take Caucasus again from the Italians. So yeah, we'll see what happens on the next round. These tanks are well within range of each other now. Not sure if Japan wants to get into that, but we'll see. Japan also, on the previous round, had taken Midway, and now they've taken Hawaii. They just have 1 guy left there, though, so the American force is a bit of overkill. And down here remains the same, the Americans liberating those islands. We'll see what happens for the rest of the turn number 5. All right, we have now completed round 5, and some fun things happened. Not much in the Pacific, though. The Japanese did get super subs a while ago, so they built a stack of subs. But the Americans said, fine, we're not giving you any boats to sink. And they moved out from here. And you're saying, now where's that East Indies army? Well, they traveled across, 1, 2, and took Cairo with the help of a bomber. So that's kind of cool. Italy will take it back, no doubt, but hey, it's fun for a turn. Oh, China, we forgot to put on 1 Chinese guy. Here we go. Put him on right there. Gesundheit. And the British and the Americans both evacuated Karelia, so that the Russians on their next turn should get their Archangel bonus for having no Allied troops in Russia. The Italians came and took Morocco, Algeria back from the Americans, of course. The American fleet went up here and met with 1 transport and a couple of guys on it there. So they're trying to get away, but the Italians may follow them up there. We'll see. America built a couple of bombers. So we're going to see how that goes. Plus a bunch of subs to help deal with this Italian threat. So the Italians have a couple of units here. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. We have, I think that's pretty much it for what's been going on. Nothing else been going on? No. Okay, the money situation is looking like this. Italy's come back down to earth now after having a ton of cash, but they're still making 10 in bonuses, right? Yeah, so they're still making 21. Russia's about a starting position, Japan as well. Germany's fallen a bit because of France. I don't know if I pointed that out. Yeah, Britain took France. But because the Americans got defeated here, they weren't able to reinforce. So France will be taken in short order by Germany. But Britain is having a great time right now, although I'm sure the Japanese will start taking back those money islands again. But hey, they're going to enjoy the money while they can. All right, we'll let you know what's going on after Germany's turn on round 6. All right, halfway through turn 6, and the struggle continues. Japan came and took French Indochina back, destroying 5 British armor, but they took some losses themselves, and were left with 1 tank. They actually had to give up a plane. And did you just take that this round as well? Okay. So then Wake was recaptured by the Japanese as well. And of course, they took the vacant East Indies. The Russians, or the Japanese, had come down into Persia with 4 tanks. They came through Kazakh, but then the Russians came down and took them out. But the pesky Italians are still here. We'll see how they're doing at the end of the round. Not much happened up here. It's actually very quiet on the Eastern Front. But France has been retaken by the Germans. And it's that. Now you'll notice that the Luftwaffe is no more. They did a valiant 1 bomber, 1 fighter attack versus the British here, hoping to take out everything. They actually got 2 hits first round, I think. And only 1 hit was replied, and then they couldn't hit again. They rolled 2 6s with the bombers, and that was that. So the Luftwaffe is gone. So we'll see what the Allies can do with that. On the rest of this turn, tank moved up here to Belgian Congo to get some more for the Germans. We'll show you what it's like at the end of round 6. All right, well, the game continues to march on. We'll very quickly run over a few things here. There was a Japanese fleet of subs. He has super subs, remember? So I had to take care of that. So I sacrificed 2 subs and a battleship. Used my bomber and kept the bomber because he's got so many aircraft here, he would just kill my battleship dead. So I thought I'd hang on to the bomber as it's got a nice reach to it. Moved our 2 transports down here. I can't come through the Suez because the British took Transjordan last turn. America came over here and took this from Italy. Italy, of course, came over here and took Cairo back with force. And what else happened? Britain bombed Germany. Germany's hurting for certain here. They got 12 damage on their factory right now, so they're hurting pretty badly. Americans built 2 more bombers and a couple destroyers and some men, but that's pretty much it. China is, as of right now, out of the game. They only have 1 territory, thanks to the Russians, but and I don't think there's going to be much sense for Russia to help them out much more going forward. So we'll see what the next turn looks like. We're running to turn 7 now, folks. It'll be a very telling one, I think. Okay, so we've had some exciting action here at the beginning of turn 7. The Germans were able to get back up here and take the Baltics back from the Russians without taking a loss, so that was good for them. And Japan brought their big fleet down here. It looks like they're making motion at taking Australia. French Indochina obviously is packed with guys. And they went after the lone Russian soldier here with a tank and a plane, but the Russian got a hit, so they chose to get rid of the tank, or get rid of the plane, pardon me, and keep the territory. All right, not much else went on, so we're gonna just keep trucking along here. This will probably be our last round today, but we'll see how much steam we got left in the tank. Okay, so that's all the time we have today to play, and we're at the end of turn 7, and nothing is really decided here. There's a kind of a feeling as though the Allies might win just because of math, just because there's no huge threats to this area here, and now Africa is becoming under control of the Allies a little bit. The Italians went and took Stalingrad again, sneaky buggers. But Germany is just getting pounded here. We can see now there are 7 bombers going on. America just finally got its first technology. Rolled 3 dice last round and we got jet fighters, but I don't know if that's going to enter into it much. But we do have the Italians having to take care of this battleship, but then it's going to be in the range of this big stack of, we got 4, 5, 6 subs and a couple destroyers. The fighters there, it'll be in range of the bombers. So the Italian Navy, I think, is kind of bottled up now. So we might be calling this one, but we're not 100% sure. So I'm just going to be doing a flyby here, just so that we can see how much everything is, and we'll if we do play it again, we'll definitely let you guys know. If we finish off this game, we'll definitely let you know how it went. Nothing in Africa. Africa is empty. You could say everything is out of Africa. Alright, for those 80s Oscar-winning movie fans, there you go. Italy's navy from the beginning is completely intact, and then they added a transport. So I don't think they even got attacked at all. They took out the British destroyer, and that was it. So the British were able to take back. The Germans took the Baltic states. The British then came in and made a landing, took the Baltic states back because there was quite a stack of tanks and men. So they took that back, had some fortuitous rolls. But Russia's fairly empty. Again, that's Italian stuff in Stalingrad. Russia's fairly empty, but so is the top here. And Russia's starting to take back some of its stuff at the top. China is pretty empty in the north. The south is here, but now the British, with some Russian help, looks like they're going to hold on to India. The Borneo is still in the hands of the Americans, but for not much longer, I'm thinking, because this big Japanese Navy is going to probably haul a couple of guys over. But Australia is also in peril. But there's nothing that can be done because there are no American warships in the Pacific at all. That was a decision made when the Japanese got super subs, and basically I said, forget it, I'm not going to try to fight those things because they're cheap and they punch like a cruiser, so don't need that kind of an annoyance and spending money on that. So that when I turned all my money to the Atlantic, that's when America started having a bit more fortune over here. So that's pretty much it for now, folks. Really thank you for watching. I'm just trying to do a nice flyby so that we know exactly what is everywhere, and I'll probably take some stills of it too. But thanks for watching, and we're just signing off, Colton and I, from Nerdhaven Games here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. If you're ever in the area, drop on by. It's a great, friendly local game store. And hey, we play 6 days a week here. Mondays it's closed, but the rest of the time it's open. Lots of people playing. All right, take care, and just enjoy life. If I don't talk to you before then, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next year.